Welcome to the podcast that is all about the world of direct response. Are we on the air? It's our 1970s vintage newscast theme. Because it is a breaking news edition, I said that we would cut in from our summer break, and I knew this was something just told me when I said summer break that something epic would happen. Qurate results came out. That's not it. I'll mention that since we're here. No, it is Friday, August 16th, and the breaking news this morning is Invicta Watches, who for, the better part of almost 25 years have been a mainstay on ShopHQ. Prior to that, Evine. Prior to that, Evine Live. Prior to that, ShopHQ. Prior to that, ShopNBC. And they even went back to the ValueVision days, so 25 years almost on the same channel. And they have said goodbye. And they are going to JTV. And I have to admit, I did not see this coming. And the reason I'm surprised that I'm saying that is because Kendi Klepfer, as speaking of breaking news, is now setting up shop at JTV. She's had her first few shows there. And she was a great, dedicated Invicta host. And so when she went to JTV, I'm sure they saw this as an opportunity. This is pure speculation on my part, to entice Invicta to follow her. And I'm going to read from Invicta's posting this morning about this. Is from Invicta Watches Instagram, and I'm sure they probably posted on other social media. This is where I happen to see it this morning. It says, "We are thrilled to announce that Invicta Watches a new home on JTV. At Invicta, we believe in the power of unity. Our journey with you, our dedicated collectors, has always been about building a community of watch enthusiasts who appreciate style, innovation, and craftsmanship. Now, united on TV, we're taking this bond to the next level and bringing you unparalleled access to our newest and most coveted timepieces. We also," and this next sentence is, I think, key. "We also know how much you value the connection and familiarity with your beloved hosts, and we've made sure that this experience will be just like coming home." That last line, again, Invicta has their critics, but you got to give them props for that last line, because that's what it's all about. It is all about that commitment and that familiarity that people have with Kendi, with the brand. And this goes back to something I said on, I think it was the last show, that ShopHQ, their biggest problem now is they don't have any legendary hosts left anymore. Charlotte's back, but she was gone for 10, 15 years, so there's a huge gap there. They now have this customer base that has been shopping for Invicta for, like I said, almost 25 years, who don't know these hosts. And I'm not going to pick on any individuals, but I have watched a number of times. Like I said, Ryan Johnson is one of my best friends in the world. And by the way, I don't know what this means for him. I've reached out to him. It's still early in the morning. I haven't heard back from him. And besides, if there is anything going on with him, it's up to him to announce it first anyways. Where was I going with this? Oh, and some of those hosts just should not have been doing Invicta watch shows. It's just, there were some train wrecks. Ryan is awesome as always, but if you've got a host that just doesn't seem, because, again, for those that don't know my backstory, I did Invicta watch shows for 2000 up until 2012. I have stacks of DVDs, which I need to get back to Ryan Johnson, of he and I doing watch shows together, and they were a great time. And the connection we had with the customer was that I was a collector. He was a collector. People knew that. There was an instant credibility. Jim Skelton, Tim Temple, who also did the shows for that network, had that same thing. They had that same connection. And collectors of Invicta watches, and I remember some watch forums saying, are they collectors or are they hoarders? Because, I mean, there were people that literally had thousands of them. And yeah, there might be an argument that's more hoarding than collecting. But they want to shop with people who have the same mindset and can understand where they're coming from. So when they take a phone call on the air and say, hey, yeah, I have 100 Invictas, and they can make reference back to a pro diver from, the early 2000s, and the host gets it. These hosts now on ShopHQ would say, oh, that sounds interesting, because they don't know it. They don't know the legacy behind the brand and what A. Lalo and the people at Invicta have been bringing to their dedicated customers. And this is my concern for ShopHQ, is losing that customer core and losing that group, because, and I posted this on social media, my worry is, for all the people that complained, it's the Invicta Network. All they do is Invicta. Well, part of the reason is it sells. If you see something consistently on the network, why does QVC do Skechers so much? They sell. They do well. There's a because in the end, these places need to stay in business and make money, and so if they're not going to have Invicta, I do get a little worried because that was a reliable customer. They had their following. They would watch those shows. These people would literally clear their calendar Sunday evening for those shows. I remember vividly when I was doing the Saturday night, because I would do the Saturday night, and then Jim Skelton or Tim Temple would do the Sunday afternoon show. So I did the launch, the TLV, or whatever we called it back then, TTV, whatever, at 11 p.m. Central Time. We would launch that Saturday night into Sunday morning. It'd be a 3-hour show. People were dedicated, tuned in every week to see what that item was going to be, and then stuck around for the rest of the show. And then that momentum carried over into Sunday afternoon, and that progression just was always there. They don't have that now. Can they build it maybe with another watch brand? I wish them luck. I really do, because I just don't think that the planets are going to be aligned again where another brand will ever have the dedication and the following that Invicta had on ShopHQ, and I think it will carry over to JTV. They're in a lot of homes, and in fact, they might be in more homes now. Because if I remember correctly, ShopHQ was off Dish Network, and I think JTV still is. So I don't fact check me on that. I'm not 100% certain. But so that is going to be a big hit to ShopHQ. So we'll see because they're going to need something to fill that void. They're trying to become a jewelry network again. QVC is trying to become a jewelry network again. And that'll segue into their results in a minute or two here. But I've seen that pendulum swing back and forth 50 times. We're a jewelry network. 2 years later, we're not a jewelry network. 2 years later, we're a jewelry network. 2 years later, we're not a jewelry network. I mean, it's just, so that is going to swing back and forth again. The watches were consistent. And did they still ebb and flow? Yeah, in recessionary times, the sales would take a bit of a hit. But the collector, key word, the collector was always there. And that collector of those watches, the people that have purchased dozens and hundreds and literally thousands of them, are now going to JTV, where, hey, there's Kendi Klepfer. We know her. She has credibility. This is awesome. And again, to that last sentence, it is like going home again for the people who are fans of Invicta. I still have a few of mine, 3 I think in total. My original Pro Diver, which again, just quick backstory of how Invicta even wound up on television. I bought that Pro Diver in the mid-'90s from Danny Blair. Danny Blair is now a host on Gem Shopping Network. He used to be known as the Watch Commander, and boy was he polarizing. You loved him, you hated him. I was indifferent. And he was on a network that was tiny. I swear to you, I don't even remember the name of it. It was one of those that popped up and vanished in the 1990s. And I bought it from him. And I still have it. And I still love it. Because again, it's not this hockey puck that so many of the watches are these days. People love them. I don't. I have my Sub-Aqua Noma 3. That is actually worth something. It doesn't pop up. It's the original automatic, Swiss-made, and those don't pop up on eBay very often. When they do, they go for a lot. So I have that. I have my original Lupa, which needs some love. It's the crown is funky on it. It's not working properly. And I think there's one other. I have my watch boxes around here. Watch boxes, plural. I'm not sure which one. Hang on. Nope, that's it. I guess that is it. Just those. So anyway, so we'll see what happens with ShopHQ. It's gonna be very interesting. This is gonna be huge for JTV. And as I mentioned, ShopHQ now becoming a jewelry network, which I've pendulum swung back and forth 50 times, and now QVC is relying on jewelry. They released their results for the quarter ending June 30th. Revenue declined 4% to $1.56 billion due to a 5% decrease in units shipped and lower shipping and handling revenue. The drop-off was partially offset by a 2% increase in average selling price. So what they're doing, because sales are down, their revenue is down, they are making that up by higher prices, which is increasing their margins. So they actually didn't do badly, because even though revenue declined 5% to $576 million, operating income dropped 20% to $57 million. Total revenue declined 5%. I mentioned that. While revenue was in line with overall discretionary retail, we expanded gross margins. This is quoting the president, for the 5th consecutive quarter, generating $165 million in operating income. And they grew their adjusted EBITDA for the 4th consecutive quarter and reduced debt. So they're able to grow income because they're making more money on what they are selling. So that is offsetting the decline in sales. They're making more money. So, yeah, if you're thinking the prices have gone up, yes, they have. And what was the other thing I was going to mention? Cornerstone. They need to dump that. Cornerstone is now a train wreck for them. The sales decline was steepest at Cornerstone. And that's, again, different Ballard Designs, Frontgate, Garnet Hill, Grandin Road. Doesn't affect their TV business, except it pulls money from the corporate. And their stock is still suffering. They have had their, I think, final warning now from NASDAQ that if they don't get their stock price over $1, that they will be delisted. So I'm surprised they haven't done a reverse split yet. I kind of thought that would have happened by now. And what was the other thing I was going to mention about that? I can't remember, other than the fact that I still say HSN is doing QVC better than QVC is doing QVC right now. Oh, I remember now. Because there were sales decline mainly in beauty, apparel, and accessories, partially offset by growth in jewelry. Home performance was not cited. And in the investor call, one of my favorite questions from one of the bankers, financiers who was on the call with the CEO and the president, said, okay, now wait a minute, you're blaming people aren't buying discretionary items anymore for your decline in sales, but yet your jewelry has grew. How do you explain that? Because that is the epitome of people spending money that they otherwise wouldn't. And he kind of hem and hawed a little bit on that. It was kind of fun to listen to. But no, that is where they're seeing growth is jewelry. And like I said, give it a couple years, all those jewelry shows are going to be pulled and replaced with probably electronics, because that's slow right now and that will come back. So anyway, just a quick little something on QVC. And the big news, though, obviously, wow, Invicta to JTV. Who saw that coming? It is interesting now to see if there will be any impact, because back in the day, ShopNBC and ValueVision had a lot of watch brands. Those were, for me, the glory days when we had Qurate. We had Android, which is now going under a different name. I still keep in touch with the owner of Yes Watches. And who was the other guy? I had one other vendor reach out to me recently. So I'm still in touch with some of them. And so maybe they can do something with some of those, but it's not going to fill the void that Invicta had. There were a few times when they tried. Renato was one they thought was going to be the next Invicta, and it did very well for them. And then that one went away. So I don't know. I will get an entire show dedicated to watches, but I'm on my summer break. I have things to do, and in fact, I have a real job to go to in a little while, so I'm going to do that. But we will be back in a few weeks with more. So let's see. Let me get my plugs out here. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. That's the best thing you can do, is subscribe through a podcasting app. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. A lot of you get the show through Spotify, so thank you for that. That way you'll never miss a show, and you can listen to the archive of past shows. We've been doing this almost 3 years now. I hope you'll check me out on X, Facebook, and YouTube, where I am Sean Wilsey, and I am uploading more clips to my YouTube page. A lot of vintage clips. I have a clip of me in a clock that goes haywire. I just uploaded one of Phyllis Diller selling a face cream at Home Shopping Club. Yes, Phyllis Diller selling face cream at Home Shopping Club. National Shopping Club, I found some. I'm going through as I'm digitizing these old tapes, finding all of this old video, and so I'm slowly getting it up there. And this is the longest close to the show I've ever done. I could probably talk over the whole theme music at this point. And on Instagram at @SWilsey. And I do appreciate you downloading this edition of our We on the Air.
Yes, I know, Travis. That's why we give such bargains.
Copyright 2024, King Bobby Productions, all rights reserved. Hey, I hit the post.